From the budding years of our industry, the days of Doom and Quake, to the modern era, the importance and popularity of the genre of shooters has never waned. In 2018, we saw a mix of returning behemoths and smaller titles that came out of nowhere and surprised us with how good they were. Here, we're going to talk about 10 of our favorite shooters in 2018 before picking out the one that we loved more than all of the others. Do note, the nominees and winner were decided by an internal vote held among the entire Gaming Bolt staff. The nominees are Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Call of Duty made a very controversial decision this year when, for the first time in its entire history, it decided to skip the single-player campaign altogether, instead deciding to cash in on the Battle Royale craze and give us a Call of Duty experience like we've never seen before. And though the change surely upset a lot of people, but when we all got our hands on with it, we realized that it was the best decision it could have made. From its mix of fast, slick gameplay and a focus on teamwork and relatively more tactical gameplay and multiplayer, to Blackout to zombies, Black Ops 4 has something for everyone. Firewall Zero Hour. Every year, we get an increasingly higher number of games that show just what VR is capable of. Firewall Zero Hour was one of those games this year. It's a game that takes the military shooter experience that traditional games have pretty much perfected by now, and then miraculously translates that perfectly into virtual reality. Firewall Zero Hour is thrilling, well-designed, and utterly impressive. It looks excellent, feels slick, and though it's somewhat lacking in modes that keep you coming back, the novelty of being able to play an excellent shooter in VR is more than enough to get you to do that. Earth Defense Force 5. Earth Defense Force 5 is dumb. For any other game on the planet, that would be a pretty harsh criticism, but for this franchise, that's a strength. Earth Defense Force knows it's dumb. It constantly tries to be dumber, and in the end, delivers good, dumb fun. Earth Defense Force 5 is all that, just more of it, and better than ever. It's a lengthy romp through mindless carnage, fueled by the shooting of armies of bugs with big, awesome guns, and it never tries or wants to be anything more than that. Sure, it's shallow, but when shallow is this much fun, it's hard to mind too much. Warhammer Vermintide 2. Warhammer Vermintide 2 knows exactly what makes the looter genre tick, and it knows exactly what made its predecessor tick, and it builds on both of those things excellently. Combat in Vermintide 2 is brutal and incredibly satisfying. Each weapon feels weighty and kicks like a mule. The loot grind is dangerously addictive, which is exactly what you would expect from a game like this, and is intrinsically tied with a deep and rewarding progression system. All of that, combined with an interesting setting, beautiful art, and challenging difficulty, make for a game that, if you can get into it, you'll be coming back to again and again. DayZ. After 5 long years in early access, DayZ finally has launched to the masses as a full 1.0 release. 5 years is a long time to wait for anything, and whether or not it used those 5 years in development, well, is another discussion entirely. But in the here and now, DayZ is a lot of fun. It's a game that still needs work, sure, but while you're actually playing it, it's easy to find enjoyment for yourself. From the shooting, to the game's intense atmosphere, to its survival elements, there's a lot here that all comes together to deliver a pretty solid experience that has the potential to grow even further. Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 was very much an evolution rather than a revolution, taking what worked so well in Battlefield 1 in 2016 and building upon it in clever ways. The war story structure of the campaign made for 3 solid single-player outings, just as most had predicted they would. While on the multiplayer side of things, Battlefield 5 made some smart tweaks and balancing changes to put even more of a focus on squad-based play. There's a perfectly valid argument to be made that the game launched in a bit of an incomplete state, with a lot of content missing at the time of release. But the silver lining is that DICE are going to deliver a great deal more content as time goes on, and it's all going to be free. Overload. If you've got a hankering for a retro-style shooter, Overload is exactly the fix that you need. What sets this game apart is that it goes beyond the trappings of just a nostalgic pander and actually makes an identity for itself with some innovative ideas and design quirks. It puts players in a 3D space, allowing them 6 degrees of freedom movement, but in zero-gravity environments. Those two simple yet distinct things come together to make an experience that is very different from your typical shooter, and thanks to immaculate execution, is also an absolute blast. It features some smart level design and thrilling action, and though things such as sudden difficulty spikes and occasional repetition are flaws that shouldn't be ignored, the net result is still a game that shouldn't be missed by fans of the genre. Far Cry 5. The Far Cry franchise had settled into a very comfortable groove since its resurgence in 2013, building stories and chaotic gameplay around a very structured open-world approach that had, to be fair, worked very well over the course of a few games. With Far Cry 5, Ubisoft decided to take a risk, even though they didn't really need to, and it paid off in spades. Far Cry 5's open world is more fluid and organic than any other in the series, and while focusing on systems-based emergent gameplay, promotes the same brand of mayhem and bombastic action that the series is known for. As such, Hope County, Montana feels pleasantly different but comfortably familiar all the same. Just Cause 4. Just Cause has always prided itself on being the most intense experience on the market, and though Just Cause 4 is not a game without failings, it certainly lives up to the billing of the franchise that it belongs to. And while it makes the expected improvements with more robust tools to wreak havoc, it also makes other notable changes that make it even more of a blast, quite literally at times. From the extreme weathers, to the updated physics engine, to just the pure carnage-filled fun in an open world that is large and beautiful, Avalanche Studios' Just Cause 4 has a great deal going for it. Strange Brigade. Strange Brigade can, on paper, be called a co-op shooter that takes several cues from Left 4 Dead. And while it certainly is that is also an oversimplification, because yes, while it evokes Left 4 Dead a great deal, it does it in a distinct manner, with unique flavor and style. Its campy presentation and humor lend it personality. Its interesting setting makes for some great visual treats. Its light puzzle solving helps break up the action every now and then, while its great level design also stands as one of its biggest strengths. And, of course, the pure and simple act of mowing down hordes of enemies is extremely enjoyable and ensures that there's never a dull moment. And the winner is Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 is decidedly different from the last two numbered titles in the series, in that it de-emphasizes story and focuses squarely on emergent open-world gameplay. You're a mute protagonist. The progression of the story is, for the most part, unstructured, and barring some segments that force you into particular narrative moments, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. And it works excellently, serving as the perfect foil for Far Cry's brand of action. Hope County, Montana is an excellent setting, and exploration is constantly engaging. The shooting feels slick and tight, which means anytime there's action to be had, it always ends in thrilling and tense encounters. Combined with light RPG mechanics and a ton of great side content to dive into, Far Cry 5 is a game that can easily provide you with dozens upon dozens of hours of excellent gameplay, most of which, best of all, will be of your own making. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.